Hi, third graders. Welcome to lesson 19.3. So we're going to learn about some more square units of measurement. We're going to be looking at square meters and square feet today. So we are going to find those in exactly the same way that we found square centimeters and square inches. So the only real difference here is that we know that feet and meters are bigger than inches and centimeters, right, guys? So depending on what surface we are measuring is what would determine which unit we want to use. So if we're measuring, say, the surface of maybe like a cell phone, we would probably want to use square centimeters for that, right? Because a cell phone isn't too big. And then if we were measuring a book that we're reading, depending on the size of the book, we would want to use either square centimeters or probably square inches, right? Think of one of the books that you're currently reading. We would probably use square inches for that. Now, if we wanted to measure, say, the surface of our desk at school, for something like that, we would probably want to use square feet. Remember, a foot is 12 inches. So we would probably want to do square feet for something like our desk at school. And then if we have, like, say, picture your big kitchen table where you sit to eat, you could probably measure that one in either square feet or square meters. So think about how big a meter is. Remember our meter stick in the classroom? So think about that. If you have a really big table, you could measure it in square meters. Like we have this big, huge dining room table that we pull out around the holiday time. And for that one, we would measure it in square meters probably. Okay, so looking at this page, it says each side of this tabletop is 1 meter long. So the area of this table would be 1 square meter. And we would write that with our M for meter and then our little floating 2, that means squared. Okay, so we have 1 meter on this side, 1 meter on this side, 1 meter on this side, and 1 meter on this side. Now, our little helper friend is asking us, which do you think is larger, 1 square centimeter or 1 square meter, and why? So, of course, the square meter is much larger than a square centimeter. Think of a centimeter, guys. It's tiny, right? It's about the size of your pointer finger nail. So if you look at your nail on your pointer finger, that's about 1 centimeter, okay? And then a meter, we know our meter stick in the classroom. It's pretty big. Remember when we were doing measurement, our door in the classroom is about 2 meters. So this table is actually a lot bigger than it looks on the screen. Okay, so definitely a meter, square meter is much bigger than a square centimeter. Okay, so this page gives us a good idea of the difference between how big a square meter would be compared to a square centimeter. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the actual size of a square meter. We know that that would be much, much bigger. This kind of just shows us how much bigger it actually is than a square centimeter. So think of like a little sticker or a stamp. That kind of thing would be a square centimeter. Then this is, of course, 1 square meter. Now we have down here a 4 meter square. So guys, keep in mind, this is actually about a centimeter, right? So it's not going to be the actual size because there's no way that we would be able to fit an actual 4 meter square on our screen, right? So that just we wouldn't be able to fit that. So we're going to pretend that this is as big as a meter, okay? So just for the purposes of learning about square meters and square feet, we're going to say that this is a 4 meter square. So if we were actually looking at a 4 meter square, it would be pretty big, right? Because it would be 4 meters on this side, 4 meters on this side, 4 meters on this side, and of course, 4 meters on this side. So a 4 meter square is made up of 16 1 meter squares. So if we were to find the area of this 4 meter square, it would be 16 square meters. Okay, so now we're looking at this shape here, and it says the figures are made up of square and half square tiles. So we're going to quickly go through this page. So remember, guys, this looks like it's about the size of a centimeter, but we are pretending it's a meter. So it would really be a lot bigger than what we're seeing on the screen. Okay. So figure A is made up of blank 1 meter squares. So we can see there are 4 rows and there are 7 squares in each row. So 4 times 7 would be 28. So there are 28 1 meter squares that make up this shape that we're looking at. And then number 2 says the area of each 1 meter square. Okay, guys, so the area of a 1 meter square is just 1 square meter. Okay, so that's this guy right here is 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. So it's just 1 square meter. Okay, the area of this figure for number 3 would be our 28 square meters because we just counted, actually we did our multiplication, right? 4 times 7 is 28, so it's 28 square meters. And then number 4, find the area of figure B. So now we're looking at this guy over here. We can see that it is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these 2 make 5. So it is 5 square meters. And remember, guys, we write that with our M for meter and then our squared, which is the floating 2 up there. All right, number 5, which figure has a larger area, figure A or figure B? So we can clearly see, right, guys, the surface that we have here is much, much, much bigger than the surface we have here. Okay, so the area of figure A is much bigger than the area of figure B. And then number 6, which 2 figures have the same area? So now this one looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that would be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's only 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like figure P and figure R have the same area. They are both 7 square meters. Okay, another way that we can measure area is in square feet. So a square foot would be a square that is 1 foot on each side, okay? So it's 1 foot here, 1 foot here, 1 foot here, and 1 foot here. And then she's asking us, which do you think is larger, 1 square inch or 1 square foot? Now we know that a foot is 12 inches. So 1 foot would be 12 inches. That means on a square foot, each side is 12 inches. And on a square inch, each side is only 1 inch. So a square foot is definitely much bigger than a square inch. Okay, so if you have tiles on your kitchen floor, I want you to go look at them. A lot of kitchens have tile floors. So when you're looking at your tile floor, most tiles that you see on a floor like that are about 1 square foot. So if you happen to have some measuring tape or if you have a ruler, then you can go measure those tiles and see if they're about 1 square foot. That means they would be 1 foot on each side. So if you happen to have the tools for that, you can go check and see if your tiles are about 1 square foot. If not, you can just estimate, just look at it and see if it looks to be about 12 inches on each side. Okay, so if we were to think of those kitchen tiles, that's about 1 square foot, and then a stamp would be about 1 square inch. This is showing us how much smaller a stamp would be compared to like a floor tile. Okay, guys, and once again, these look much, much smaller on our screen than they would actually look in real life. If we had a 5-foot square, it would be 5 feet on this side, 5 feet on this side, 5 feet on this side, 5 feet on this side. So it'd be a lot bigger than what we're seeing here. But basically, they just want us to know that a 5-foot square would be made up of 5 feet on each side. Okay, and then its area would be how many of the 1-foot squares are inside of that 5-foot square. So if we were to count them, we can see there's 5 here and 5 here, of course. So 5 times 5 is 25. So the area of a 5-foot square is 25 square feet. And this actually reminds me of the rug that we used to have in our classroom. So think back to the beginning of the year. It was this beautiful, bright, colorful rug that had different colored squares on it. Hopefully you remember that rug. That rug was about 25 square feet. So if you can think about how big that rug was, each of the squares on that rug were 1 square foot, okay? And there were about 25 of them. So that big rug that we had up in the front of the classroom at the beginning of the year was about 25 square feet. So that kind of gives you an idea of how big that would be in real life. Okay, so let's just look at the figures down at the bottom. We're going to be measuring in square feet. So we can see that each figure is made up of squares that are 1 square foot. So each of the squares that make up these shapes are 1 square foot. So we just need to figure out how many of them are there to figure out the area. So figure A is made up of blank 1-foot tiles. So we've got 2 times 4. So we know that that would be 8, of course. Okay. Number 8, the area of each 1-foot tile is 1 square foot. So the area of figure A, since it's made up of 8 of those tiles, it would be 8 square feet. The area of figure B, on figure B we have a couple half tiles there, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 square feet for figure B. And then which figure has a smaller area, figure A or figure B? So we can tell that this one's only 6 square feet and this one's 8 square feet. So figure B would be the smaller area. Okay, so this next page is just a really fun hands-on activity that we would normally do in the classroom. Hopefully you'll be able to do it at home. Obviously, we can't do this part where it says objects I found in school, but you could do the objects at home that you find and then think about objects that would be about that same size in school, and you can do this. So I'll put this in Google Classroom for you, and if you have some measuring tape and a ruler at home, that would be awesome so that you can actually do the rest of this activity. It's a really fun, just hands-on way to learn about area. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do for this lesson is we're going to do the Let's Practice page together, so make sure that you are following along, and then at the end of this, you're going to click on Turn In so that I know that you watched the whole video and that you stayed for the practice page too. Okay. So we're going to find the area of all of these figures here. So this one, it's supposed to be meters, although we know a 1 square meter would be much, much bigger than what this looks like on our screen, right? So we know to find the area, all we need to do is count the squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this figure has an area of 8 square meters. Okay, next shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. This kind of looks like a little dog, doesn't it? There's his nose and his tail. Okay, I'm going to start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then his tail and nose make 10. So he has an area of 10 square feet. Okay, so down below here, we're just going to find the area of each figure. And we're still pretending this is a meter. So these figures would actually be very, very big if we were to see them in real life instead of on our little graph paper here. So we can see figure A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those two make 6. So we can see that figure B is definitely the one with the smallest area because that one was only 5 square meters. Number 5, which figure has the largest area? That would be figure A because that one had an area of 7 square meters. And then number 6 says, which figure has an area 1 square meter less than figure A? So we know figure A had an area of 7 square meters, right? And then C had an area of 6 square meters. So that would be 1 square meter less than figure A. So this would be figure C. Okay, guys, that is it for this lesson, and I will see you next time.